Me, that was a lot of money. But yes, let's talk about our next guest. On Crypto Junkie today, we have the magical, the mystique, the successful 4X. 4X, what's up? Welcome to the Junkies.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity. I love your show.
That's great, man. Hey, one thing, you are such an attractive man. I can see why you won't let your real face out. There be girls lining up, cities away. So, thank you for keeping us safe.
Well, we all know how the girls love the, coders sitting in their closet, type of way.
That's the next thing. You're on it.
Yeah. Nah, man. Well, you know why that I like to stay behind the scenes. I think that the work needs to speak for itself. There are ways that we protect the community and protect investor capital that is automated and written into the code, right? So there's a lot of people that kind of hide behind their KYC as if a KYC has protected investor capital ever, right? We've seen so many exchanges, big exchanges that are licensed in Canada. The CEO runs away to China. It happens all the time. So what's important is that, in my opinion, is that the developer has a long track record of integrity, and they develop their contracts where even if they wanted to scam, they couldn't, because capital is locked up, liquidity is locked, there's no minting functions, or if there were to start off with, these were, migrated to a contract which cannot call them anymore, or, given up. So this is the way that I like to run our projects, and that also gives us a little more protection against things like geo-regulation, and gives less of a target to regulators and people that try to, go after the individual because they really have nothing to do after with the project itself.
No, that's great, because we were just telling the junkies about KYC and doxing. That's a really wonderful interpretation. Thank
you basically just answered my first question, which is why did you choose not to dox yourself over projects that have doxing? And I guess we're going backwards here because you just completely answered that.
Okay.
So thank you.
Hey, on to number two. So here's the question that I have first off. So, there's Drip, there's Manor Farm, and there's Animal Farm. And so give us a real quick timeline of those projects. It seems like they've been successfully building off of each other.
Yeah, so Drip was in response to a market demand that I saw of people going into these daily ROI protocols, and none of them seemed to be sustainable, but a lot of my friends were getting into them, and I thought it could be done right if the incentives were aligned properly. So we took a model of paying out a daily ROI, put certain restrictions on it to ensure its sustainability, and then took advantage of a very strong team building protocol, which essentially allows people to grow their team exponentially and get rewarded for doing it. But the ability to earn compound interest in the system is limited. It's limited to 365% of your principal. Now, if you're depositing or compounding in the system, you can increase your principal. So that really only applies to people who are draining the system and not doing positive actions. But with these incentives that we've developed to make the system sustainable, it has been extremely well performing. We're over a year old. The majority of the sustainability functionality comes in after a year, because it's 1% a day up to 365. So that means that people that got in day one or in pre-sale just hit their max payout about 3 weeks ago. So since then, we've seen a lot of excitement about the project, with people knowing that a lot of these early whales that got in have hit their max payout, and we have a lot coming up as far as partnerships and development in the future for Drip, but in the meantime, we wanted to incentivize people to add liquidity to Drip, and to have another staking protocol, which is rewarding people for adding liquidity and pairing on PancakeSwap. And we did this by developing a yield farm. But the idea of the yield farm was not to do any other yield farm, because yield farms come and go in the space. We wanted a yield farm that is owned and benefits the users in the system. So the way it works is we did Manor Farm, and we're Manor Farm was essentially just a phase that lasted a couple weeks that we used to raise capital for Animal Farm. So we're kind of past that. So I'm just going to get right into Animal Farm.
Okay.
But because the way we did it was we allowed people to stake into Manor Farm. They earned a token which acted like a pre-sale token for Animal Farm. And then all of the BUSD that was associated with that pre-sale token in that liquidity pool got migrated over to Animal Farm and used as rewards in Animal Farm.
So kind of just like an intro layer 1 bridge over to Animal Farm.
Exactly, yeah. And it made it so we had something to pass over, because the idea was we wanted to pass over the ownership of the farm to the investors. So we needed something to start with to pass over.
Right.
And the way that Animal Farm works is there's a 6% deposit fee on pools and a 4% deposit fee on farms. Like basically all yield farms have a deposit fee, but instead of this deposit fee going to developers, like how it happens in all the other yield farms, it goes to the stakers of the governance token, which is the pigs token. Animal Farm, we have dog and we have pigs. The dog token acts as our farm reward token, and the dog token, which is the native asset of the farm, can be paired with BUSD, BNB, or staked in the native asset pool to earn pigs. The pigs are the governance token, which represents your ownership of the farm. You get a share of all the deposit fees. You get a share of all of the BUSD generated from the dog token, because there's a 3% tax on it, which swaps for BUSD and pays out to the pig pen, which is the governance, the ownership staking protocol. And unlike all other yield farms where the capital on the contracts just kind of sit in their contracts doing nothing, with ours, we use that collateral, we call it collateral rehypothecation, and we lend it out to PancakeSwap to earn an additional 30 to 40% a year APY on it. This is earned in the form of cake, which we then sell for BUSD and pay out to the pig pen, the governance owners. So, 30 to 40% in DeFi, that might not sound like a huge amount, but when you're considering we're getting paid 30 to 40% on the full TVL, so that's hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars that we're earning 30 to 40% on that gets paid out to the owners, plus all of the deposit fees, it's a huge cash flow that are going to the true owners of the Animal Farm, which are the holders of the pigs token. We also have a governance voting model that we use to allow the holders and stakers of the pig token to vote on when we sell that cake to do the payouts, also who we partnership in the future, because we're going to be launching vaults that allow for easy integration of partnerships. Basically, if someone wants to partner with us, they can take a percentage of their total supply and use it as rewards in our vaults for people that stake their native asset with our native asset and put it in there. That way, it's another cash flow, another reward pool that doesn't involve the inflation of our native assets. And then I would say one more thing that makes Animal Farm completely different from any other yield farm protocol is other yield farm protocols have an emission rate which is blind. So they emit a certain amount of tokens every block, and these tokens that are minted every block go to pay the stakers in the farm as rewards, as yield.
Right.
With ours, we have something called a supply control algorithm, which is looking at the demand for our native assets and can set the emission rate to 100%, which is what we've deemed to be, through many case studies, what we've deemed to be a sustainable emission rate that you can pay out and still see positive price action. But if we have a wane in demand and a price correction, the emission rate can adjust all the way down to 25% efficiency, and then allow for the restriction in supply to allow that demand to cause price appreciation again. And now the emission rate increases back up, and it's doing its thing. So these are innovations that we brought to the space that I truly believe makes us the best possible yield farm in all of DeFi. And when you look at BSC, what's the alternative? I would say the best other alternative is PancakeSwap. But with Animal Farm, all of the capital on our contracts on the back end get lended and staked in PancakeSwap anyways. So you're earning that yield on PancakeSwap while you're earning the yield on Animal Farm. And then even the cake that we're earning on PancakeSwap gets staked in the single asset cake pool to earn more. So we're earning yield on yield on yield. And it allows us to pay out more than any other yield farm while being sustainable, because a lot of these cash flows aren't coming from the inflation of our reward tokens.
Okay, so here's that was a lot. So my first general thought, Mr. X, is this. If in a bullish market, which was just a month or two ago, weeks ago, if you ask some, everything sounds completely kosher. Now, I don't know if you saw last episode, but Barry White was on. And Barry White signals the bear market. So has that made any alteration in your mind as to how you're going forward? Do you see that having a negative effect on your project because people are a little more concerned about potentially volatile assets versus more sustainable ones? What are you thinking about all that?
Well, I would say with the PIG token itself, our governance protocol, which is really the thing that is giving value to the other assets on the farm, because the main use case for the dog token is to earn the pig tokens and have an ownership of the platform. We purposely disabled all of the other liquidity pools except for BUSD. So we're only paired with BUSD. And when that does is it separates us from the volatility of the rest of the market, because the reason why you see, for example, ETH go down when BNB goes down, when Bitcoin goes down, is mostly because they're sharing liquidity pools. And so if one USDT is staked with one BNB, for example, and the value of BNB goes down, it's going to bring down the value.
Right, interlink drop, USD. Yes.
Yeah, so in USD value, we're talking.
Yeah.
So this allows us to really decouple from the rest of the market. And then I would also say the best hedge you can have against a bear market is being in a sustainable, high-functioning yield farm, because you can get into stables and earn on your stables in the yield farm. And your only other alternative to earn in a bear market is to short. And we know shorting has a cap of 100%. It can only go to 0, right? And the way to increase that would be to use leverage. And if you're trying to leverage short crypto markets, that goes well for, maybe the exchanges, right? That doesn't really go well for too many people. Of course, there's a very small fraction of people that can make money trading, but it's very rare.
Right.
So I would say the safest way and the safest place you can be in a bear market is in a solid yield farm, in stables and in tokens that are backed exclusively by stablecoins, such as pigs.
Yeah.
And pigs has been extremely stable.
Now, and we definitely know that in the bear market, that is the time to get your eye on a building project, a prize that's going to, escalate fully when the market comes back up. And it sounds like that's what you're working on and gearing up for. So it's pretty freaking awesome.
I have a personal question. Why did you choose developing a crypto project instead of, say, becoming an astronaut?
It's crazy you say that. I don't know if you were reading my chats recently,
a little bit.
I was just posting videos of the Apollo mission saying that, man, I wish I was an astronaut.
You looked a little bit excited about that.
The reason why I love astronauts and why I love that old footage is because I know what it's like to be in a room of developers and a room of people coding, and it's high pressure. And of course, it's nothing like an astronaut and, the whatever the command or whatever for Apollo mission or anything like that. But I can just relate to that. And it just seems so cool and so interesting. And fighter pilots, most of them are fighter pilots. I would have loved to be a fighter pilot. I'm someone that loves that kind of stuff. So,
nice. Maverick's about to drop.
But we get in where we fit in, right? And I love crypto. I love what I do, so.
So Forex, the first thing I'm thinking when I'm looking at your stuff, and for those who aren't as hip to music and other culture, it's like I see dogs and pigs, I think of Floyd right away, of course. And then, Orwell with the Animal Farm. So
I was about to say George Orwell.
Right. So that's a wonderful little mix you got there. And which came first? I'm guessing the Orwell came first and the Floyd came second?
Okay, so what it was is I was listening to Pink Floyd, The Animal Farm, and I got the idea. I've read the book Animal Farm by Orwell, and I was listening. I was trying to come up with the theming of the farm, and I was listening to Pink Floyd, and I got the idea because it's perfect. Now the
Were you Elon Musked out when you were listening?
What?
Elon Musk.
What does that even mean?
Remember on Rogan? Anyways.
We know that the animal farm is about a farm that had centralized control, and the animals decide that they want to, take ownership. And when they do, the production goes way up. And then what ends up happening, of course, at the end of the book is the pigs become the new owners, the new centralized owners, and then it goes back to the issue of centralized ownership. And this is what we wanted to use, that theming, especially that initial theming of when the animals take over the farm, production goes up because people have a sense of ownership and a sense of pride and a feel like they're getting their fair share and their fair value. And then thanks to the power of DeFi, we don't have to have the ending of the book because we are truly decentralized and we don't have some centralized force that can come take us over now.
Just got to be careful when we start building that windmill.
No, I loved, Orwell manifesto talk. That stuff's wonderful for me. And, we were saying last episode, actually, that, for the listeners of Crypto Junkeez and the viewers, that the whole point of decentralization is that. Mm-hmm. That's why we're in this space. That's what this is actually about. It's not about making money as much as it is about letting everybody get the opportunity to make money, which has never really happened before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like we are some of the only truly community projects in the space. A lot of developers, they'll launch a project, they have huge dev fees on it. It's all about them until something goes wrong or until they start to, have a wane in demand, and then they start saying, "Oh, it's a community project."
Right.
Where in our case, we've never had a dev fee on Drip.
Okay.
We've never once sold a single Drip as developers. The animal farm, all the deposit fees go to the stakers of the pigs token. So we've been very I've never taken a dev fee in our native assets ever, because I think there's a couple issues with that. There's one, that in order to put that capital to work, you often have to sell it. And when you do get paid in native assets, you have the whole community looking at your wallets, and say you do need to sell a little bit for marketing or something, they take that as a sign that your confidence is waning because you just sold some of the asset. So I've been very careful never to take payment in our native assets. And in Drip, I didn't take any dev fee at all. And then for some of our secondary contracts that have been built around it, if I do take a dev fee, it will be a small fee, not in our native asset. It will be
okay.
USD,
and this is a very integral part of why I'm sure you have such a big following and why you've had such success. And we got about 30 seconds left, Forex. So any big pushes or pubs you want to push out there for the people to know about? I know you said you had a launch coming up really quick, or a partnership.
Yeah. So with Drip, we have a big partnership with ApeSwap. They're doing something called Treasury Bills, or their Jungle Bills, which is it's a staking protocol where people will be able to stake Drip and stake Drip BUSD on their platform to earn yield. They'll be earning yield both in Drip. This is capital that's paid out, no inflated Drip. This is just Drip that's being deposited, being paid back to them, and earning yield on banana tokens, which is the native asset and the reward asset of ApeSwap. And they're providing this new product for a small handful of projects that they feel are the best, most sustainable staking protocols on all of BSC. We're one of them. I think we're going to be one of 3 when it first launches. And this is, their next big product. So they're going to be behind it. They're going to be promoting it heavy. We're going to be promoting it heavy. It's going to be an awesome new way for people to earn yield on Drip. And then on top of this, when we just had our major sustainability function of people hitting their 365 max payout a couple weeks ago, we have a new UI that we just built that we're ready to present, which we designed it after the templates of the major investment banks. I feel like we're doing a disservice not utilizing all of their knowledge base that they've built up to figure out what gets customers to actually use their products when people visit their site, right? Investment banks are spending billions of dollars to figure out how to design their websites. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be basing our UIs and using that knowledge base to our benefit. So the new UI is really taking advantage of that. We have testimonials on the front page. We have our partners on the front page. We make it very easy to figure out how to use all the products. And, and then I would say the end of year development that we're working on right now is lending.
Okay.
It will be a protocol that will allow people to take out a loan against their drip collateral, a self-paying loan, and peer-to-peer lending, which is something that isn't available in DeFi at all. There's some lending protocols that allow you to lend to a either a DEX or
I think he's gone.
Well, bro,
Where'd
you
he
know
go?
what? Hey, Forex, you've been.
I think it's going to change.
There he
today.
is. You cut off for a
You
little
cut out
bit.
for a second, but you know what? I think that's our time hall monitor. So I just want to say, man, you are so comprehensive, thorough, and intelligent. And as far as I'm concerned, man, you're down by law. So we can't wait to see what happens in the future for Animal Farm and all your projects. Can't wait to have you back on. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
thank you so much for joining us. Folks, if you would like to read more about these projects, check out animalfarm.app or drip.community. They have white papers, they have all that good stuff that you can dive in deep and
Audit.
figure out exactly what it is.
Forex, you're a
Thank
G,
you.
bro. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it, guys. Love it. Thank you so much.
Peace. Wow. That was a mountain of information from Mr. X.
I love
Damn.
it. That's what I like to hear when we interview people.